Good morning, everybody. We have too many high sounding words and too few actions that correspond with them. Try to try. Try not to be a hypocrite. Action is where the change happens. It's easy to say the right things, especially when we're talking about other people. It's harder when we're talking about ourselves because we're too close to see ourselves. Oftentimes, see ourselves properly. But there's still some ways that we're objective, some things that we know that we aren't doing properly. I haven't exercised in a month. I've been living on microwave dinners and cake. I'm still smoking. Or things that we know we could do, could improve, could build on. We don't actually get around to it. Judge a tree by the fruit that it bears, not by the fruit that it talks about bearing. When you want to have a change in yourself, in your behaviors, in your habits, in your relationships, in your mindset, in your self-esteem, in your mental health, in your life, if you want to affect the greater scheme of life, if you want to be a healthier person, you want to have deeper spiritual connection, a deeper connection with yourself, you want to be able to let go of grudges and resentments, whatever it is. Everything is easier said than done. And nothing really happens if nothing really happens. Sometimes that change is not a doing, it's an invisible change, but it's still a conscious effort. It's a practice of being still and slowing down to reduce your stress. It looks like you're relaxing more. It looks like you're having less responsibility. It looks like meditation. It looks like staring and watching a candle burn out. And really, you're desensitizing your nervous system so you're not so hyper vigilant and in fight or flight or anxiety all the time. It may look like a bubble bath. Sometimes it also looks like stillness and invisible action, but it's still conscious effort. Policing your own thoughts. Listening to your self-talk and making conscious decisions to speak better to yourself or to others. Like if you comment on someone positively and that thought that directly follows that positive commentary is a jealous thought. Oh, you look so beautiful today. Wish I were that beautiful. Catch those thoughts. Being conscious of your own consciousness. And analyzing that, breaking it down, and working to change those behaviors. You can do this just with thinking alone, by being observant of your thoughts and catching those things and going, why did I just do that? I need to work on not doing that. Or you can chronicle these things in a journal and see if there's a pattern to the way that you think that need to be changed. Perspectives on the world, closed-mindedness, emotional welfare, spiritual connection. Those kind of things can appear externally like you're not taking action because you're not in movement. But action isn't always visible physical movement. It's internal processing. Working on your mind space, your heart space, your soul space, trying to figure out your wants and your needs and gain insight on yourself. And then there's the action of doing, implementing in a more tangible physical aspect, like prepping your meals on the weekend so you eat better through the week. Downsizing your life so you're less stressed, or upsizing your life so you have more responsibility, accountability, and structure to your days so you don't feel so aimless. But nothing changes if nothing changes, and it's much easier to talk about a change than to make a change. So, really, when it comes to self-healing, fulfillment, happiness, wholeness, creating a life that you want to partake in and wake up in the morning to, and a better quality of life for yourself, you have to do the work. You have to put in the footwork. Whatever that work looks like externally, it takes action. Visible and invisible action. You have to do something, and you're the one that has to do it. Other people can help support and guide you, but in the end you have to do it. And it serves you best to speak less and do more. Just let your evolution speak for you. Than trying to present something that you're not, leaving you with that icky feeling of inauthenticity that you feel you have to hide even further your humanness, your vulnerability, your imperfections, as we all have vulnerabilities, flaws, and imperfections. Living inauthentically, talking well and living poorly, talking about what you're doing but not actually doing it, talking about trying but not actually trying, saying you will, knowing full well you won't. It's different when you try and you fail. You try, but the habit doesn't stick. You try 1,000 times and the habit still hasn't stuck, like me with smoking. But I won't say I'm going to until I'm going to. Because then that just adds guilt and shame, inauthenticity, and that icky, clingy feeling that hangs on you of knowing you're full of it, and you feel like you have to hide the reality of who you are from others. We all feel like we have to hide some portion of ourselves from others. It's difficult. Then when you meet people, there's levels to which you expose yourself. Your sensitive underbelly to people, where you let the crazy out. gradually. And the right circumstances, the right places. I mean, you can unscrew the cork right away if you want to in therapy. If you're ready to really get down to the nitty gritty and do some work, you can uncork all the crazy all at once. When you meet people in general, you don't just blow it all up. On social media, everything in your atmosphere that you're trying to work on in your character and in your life to be a more whole and wholesome individual. But you don't overinflate and put out a falsehood. It makes you feel like, even more so, that you are flawed because you've created this caricature through your words and your presentation that's so far from the actuality of your actions. It just leaves you feeling badly about yourself and guarded. If you say you're going to do it, do it. If you're not sure you're able to do it, don't say you're going to do it. And in the end, you don't even need to say anything. You can just start doing it. And slow and steady. It's your life. It's your choice, what you want to work on, what you want to change. And there is no set pace. This is not a race. And there is no finish line. But speak about it less. Brood about it less. My goodness, we ruminate. We may know what we need to change. And we'll ruminate on it, and we'll ruminate on it, and we'll ruminate on it. We'll let it swirl around in our heads over and over and over. And then we go one step further because we like to do that sometimes. But after we get done ruminating about it, then we self-beat ourselves and self-shame ourselves for being such a stupid, lazy, unmotivated, blah, 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 blah person for what we were just ruminating about, that we're not enough of, or not doing enough of, or etc. Change comes when it comes. If you're not moving in one area, try moving in another. And most certainly, don't ruminate on the things that you are, even if they are in your control to change, you're not able to at this point, for whatever reason, to make that change. Because you're getting, rumination gets you nowhere. Thinking it over, mulling it over, chewing it to death in your brain gets you nowhere but this in stress and distress, and more confused and more ambivalent, and even the thought of it, rather than feeling motivated when you think of it toward change, it triggers negative feelings which make you more resistant to ever making the change and the movement in the area. Because you've been rolling it around in your head so much, you have an automatic negative response when you even think about the thing. Making a change or attempting the thing just gets you upset. It's not very motivating, and then beating yourself up afterwards is not very motivating. So if you can't move over here, try to move over here towards something better. There is no map, there is no plan, there is no timeline. But it always serves you better. To live in accordance with your own morals and values, to the best of your ability, to keep the promises you make to yourself and others to the best of your ability. Don't say it if you don't intend to do it. To be as authentic as you can in appropriate ways. And nothing changes if nothing changes. You have to do the work. Less talk. more walk. We have too many high-sounding words and too few actions that correspond with them. Don't talk about it, be about it. Whatever it is. Even in your relationships. And this goes both ways. You can say the sweetest things, how they're such a dear friend, how you care about them so much, but your actions reveal themselves when you can't put the time in and you can't be there for them when they actually need you, and it's very one-sided. Or they can be that way to you. Actions speak louder than words. It's better to be just forthright, so you're not living up to unlivable expectations and having to hide realities and feeling shame. And when you really want to make a change in a thing, pick a thing you actually can make a change in and do the work. Take an action. And if you're really in a good place and space at that juncture in your life, a massive action will make you feel massively empowered. But it all depends on what's currently on your plate. Are you overwhelmed as it is? Do you have the reserves, time, attention, stress level, physically, to give massive energy, massive action, massive focus, massive change? Are you in a good headspace? Are you feeling relatively well? Physically, are you okay? Is your health good? Is your mental health good? Do you have your basics met? You should be in a good place with a good foundation to take a massive action and just rip that thing off like a band-aid. 5, 4, and it's done. And you'll feel massively empowered. But if you do that without the right foundation, it'll be too much on your plate for a weakened body, a weakened mental health, a weakened financial situation, a weakened relationship, and it can be the wrong massive change and cause the whole thing to collapse because the foundation wasn't in place, such as the assumption that getting married in a dysfunctional relationship is going to make things better, or bringing a baby into a dysfunctional relationship is going to make things better. That's a massive change to a broken foundation, and it always ends in disaster. So massive action leaves you feeling massively empowered, but you have to put in the small action to create the proper foundation for those massive actions. We have too many high-sounding words and too few actions that correspond with them. Less talky, more doey. Good morning, goodbye.